let you know that whenever such things happen, there's a lot of effort. I already mentioned this yesterday about the Ahmedabad chapter, but there was one person missing. She was convening behind the scenes. So please give it up for my very good dear friend Ranna Parekh. So she had to be away yesterday for some emergency, but the love of Triple ID and all of us couldn't keep her away. So thank you, Ranna, for joining us.
Okay, good morning everyone. So let's start. Introducing Vishal Shah, Professor and Pro Dean at the Institute of Design, Planning and Technology, SCET Surat, and founder partner of Angan Collaborative LLP, Angan Architects. Vishal Shah seamlessly integrates practice with teaching, passionate about urban well being. He firmly believes in the phrase, "What is the city but the people?" A SCET Surat graduate with Masters in Urban Design from CEPT, Vishal advocates for inclusive design and his firm successfully deliver projects across diverse scales from urban design to interiors. His collaboration with the Surat Municipal Corporation on public project have gained international recognition and has been showcased at the London Design Biennale, Asian Townscape Awards, and as a part of Smart City Mission. Vishal's work has earned multiple prestigious awards, including the JK Architect of the Year, Commendation Award, IIA National Award, Arcasia Award, and the multiple IIID Design Excellence Awards. He has contributed to global initiatives, playing a vital role in climate change projects supported by European Union. In academia, he has been pivotal in shaping design pedagogy, leading joint studios, and facilitating exchange programs. At this forum, he will share his insights into interior design, education, and the challenges of navigating practices across various scales from a design and details lens based on his two decades of experience. Let's welcome Vishal.
Apologies for the delay, though it was not our fault and it was beyond our control. But I understand that we all are waiting. We all are waiting to get this started. So, in my introduction, okay, yeah. So in my introduction, it was told that I have been balancing this practice and teaching, and why for me that is important is that I have been involved with teaching since more than now 2 decades, and in formal capacity, not just a visiting teacher or a adjunct kind of a professor, but very ingrainedly involved in the development of the institute that I was a student of, and currently have been teaching there, and now currently I head the architecture department of this Institute of Design, Planning and Technology, which most of you know as SCET, SCET Architecture. Now it is a bigger umbrella wherein we have architecture, interior design, fine arts, planning, and various kind of courses, and we now become a part of a constituent college of a university, that is the Sarvajanik University, formulated by more than a decade, rather more than a century old Sarvajanik Education Society. As we have the Ahmedabad Education Society over here, in Surat we have the Sarvajanik Education Society, and it has been imparting education since 1912. So that's how I am involved as a part of the teaching. So every day morning is teaching time till lunch, and post lunch the practitioner begins. So that's how the last 22 years have been. I did my graduation in 2000 and then immediately joined SEPT as part of the Masters in Urban Design program. Did my Masters in 2002 and then started teaching and started also practicing. So as a partner of Angan Collaborative LLP, and after that as the founder and partner of Urban Initiatives, which was predominantly going to look into public projects. So these three organizations have always been very close to what I have been doing and what individually I am. So a lot of times people ask me these questions, and today morning only Ganesh was asking, do you practice or do you design? So it becomes too difficult to answer because, pardon, do you practice or you teach? And it becomes difficult to answer that, that the differentiation is very difficult for me to do, because on everyday basis it's something that kind of keeps on intertwining, and that's how I have been doing since last these 22 long years. So different roles but same responsibility. Why I say that is because now everywhere my role is more of kind of training people and getting into the systemic part of the, whether it is education, whether it is practice, or even whether there are these forums like the IID, IIA, or similarly other ones also which I am involved with. So everywhere in this 2-decade long journey, now the role has been more of guiding and mentoring and trying to come up with new pedagogies, new systems and new methods as a part of it. So as I have already informed about Angan and about the institute that I teach, similarly I have been also actively involved with IIA and IID since my younger days. I was also the center chairperson of IIA and have been advisory to the IIA and IID at the Surat chapter level, and I have been constantly kind of doing programs, especially the ones that I feel is the contribution that is required. So the photographs on the right you can see are some of the open houses that we have started, and which is kind of addressing issues of practice and whatever the young generation wants to know about the whole thing. So this is what we do as a practice. We believe in rooted innovation. We started in 2002 as a full-fledged practice, and basically we work into 4 spheres: the public projects, the institutions, mostly educational ones, commercial and hospitality, which is a mixed bag, and the quantum, which comes from residences. And we do a lot of residences, individual ones, and including architecture, interiors, everything. So whatever projects that are there are basically from scratch to finish that we do as a team. And we work in multiple cities in India, almost approximately around 30 cities, and we have projects and empanelments and work profiles over there also. So the balancing act of practice and academia has been something that has been of vital importance to me and has been able to make me learn every time. And that's where the whole idea of bridging the gap between education and practice kind of comes in, and I have always seen that as a continuation and not something as that's kind of 2 different parts. And so whether it is me teaching in the studios or me doing practice at my office, both kind of support each other. And that also kind of comes into my current role as the dean of the academics, wherein I have to take care of the new pedagogies and I have to take care of things which a lot of academicians are right now concerned about, the NEP 2020 guidelines and how do we get into all those things. And at the same time I'm also involved into making of the new campus of the design institution as the chief architect, and there how hidden curriculum can be brought into the campus design. So very interesting roles that are there, and parallelly a lot of things are happening. So when we look at that, you know, a lot of synthesis, lot of intricacies, approach, methodology, even administration comes into being, and that's where the fine line between a pure teacher and academician comes in. So, you know, teacher teaches, but when it comes to academician, and then there are a lot of systemic things that also start coming in, which provides an enabling mechanism for the students and for the teachers to kind of, deliver the right thing that is kind of the context or in that particular time, and hence where the understanding, the pedagogy kind of comes in, whether it is studios, classrooms, or whether it is in real life, right? And I think that's where adaptability, discipline, all these things, they are very important. But before we jump into directly into design and details, I would like to bore you with some write-up. So, challenges in education for me, and this is purely my experience. It is not a universal truth, but I am here to share what I have felt in this journey of mine, and wherein I feel that we need to have a lot of integration in the industry and academia. There is this ever evolving curriculum. We normally a lot of times tell that we don't have textbooks in design and so on and so forth. But at the same time, we also have to acknowledge the fact that it's ever evolving, and that's why there is so much of things that we as educators, as teachers also have to understand, and even we have to make that thing, to get across to the students also. So that's the ever evolving nature of the curriculum that we have. The importance of practical skills, because one of the major struggle as a practicing firm I face on a daily basis is acquiring talent, and that's where I find that there is at times gap between what we teach and what is expected in the field, and I think that's where our role as design educators kind of comes in. And of course interdisciplinary, and it has been made more and more evident ever since, when after this technological explosion, and especially now in the times of the artificial intelligence and all, and I'm sure the speaker after me and even yesterday would have also kind of pointed out on these aspects. This whole boundaries have started blurring. So anybody and everybody can now start making design. So we have to make our students more and more aware about their critical thinking process and being original to their ideas. And that's where I feel the understanding of interdisciplinary learning kind of comes in. And of course, I strongly believe that they also need to understand the business of the design profession, right? A lot of times, a lot of educational institutions, we as educational institutions shun away from that, or we only take it as some sort of a mandatory subject at the end of the final year, wherein we say that there is a professional practice subject. But how the business works is something that is very important, because that's where I feel the major difference comes in when it comes to survival and when it comes to doing the right thing. So when we say about ethics and all, I think the understanding of the business makes a big difference. So these are the challenges, and every fresher faces some sort of dilemmas, whether it is being unfamiliar with the market trends or maybe not understanding the market trends, because a lot of times even the clients comes and ask us, आज क्या चल रहा है, अभी क्या चल रहा है, वो मुझे करना है, right? So and then you have to make them aware. So this education thing kind of keeps on going even in the practice also, where you need to keep on making the clients also aware about the right way of doing things, about design and so on and so forth. And similarly, we also have to understand that these young fresh minds who are coming into practice after their education will also require these things. Limited insight into the cost, the balance of design and aesthetics and the budget, lack of real world experience in dealing with things. Dealing is in how you deal with your clients, how you deal with agencies, and this whole negotiation thing, which kind of also, and that's where I mean business, and it's not only about money, it's about how you deal with things, right? How you get your designs done, how you kind of get the right thing done. and of course search for one's own identity, which kind of gets lost in this vast sea of information and repeated bombardment of visual images. And we all know that, the more data we are exposed to, the more similar our design starts becoming, because we are seeing everything, and some or the other where we are losing the identity, the originality of things. And that's where I feel it's very important for us to understand that, the education that we are imparting has to come to that. So this is basically, I would not say that there is a divide or, complete disconnect between education and profession. But yes, I feel that there is still a gap that we have to keep on bridging. And this is not something that is kind of going to be like once in a while kind of a thing. It's going to be a unending thing, and we have to be prepared for it, and it is going to be there. It's something which is a perennial issue that we are going to face. So the best thing to do is to kind of have the kind of adaptability which will make us and the students both kind of prepared for what is going to come. So just to kind of enumerate certain things, like, and this is again my personal experience, wherein how we have been dealing with this at SCET, is basically getting into project based and choice based learning. That's how kind of working on the strength of the students rather than some sort of a set curriculum pattern. Emphasis on technical and allied subjects, that's where the interdisciplinary touch kind of comes in. Diversifying design curriculum, incorporating the craftsman's understanding, traditional craftsmanship, and now it has been repackaged into NEP as Indian Knowledge System, so IKS, and that's how it kind of comes in. And of course hands-on experience to the making process. And I think there was one session yesterday on making, I guess, right? So that's where I feel we can make a big difference, and that's a vast field that is yet to be explored. So not only limiting ourselves to kind of design and drawing, but also kind of getting into making of these things. And similarly, when it comes to profession, what we at Angan are involved with is basically the synergy between architecture and interiors, collaboration with allied fields, and that's a very, very, very important aspect of our design. And in the projects that I'm going to showcase today, also as a part of the design and detail, you'll see that there's a lot of influence of these artists, craftsmen, and all these people into the design. Different types of work, demonstrating intricacy of work, cost and aesthetics, which I again feel is very important, because every time, the credibility is not only about the design originality, but also how well you can do it, both technically and budget wise. And of course the harmony between the ethos and the aesthetics. So when it comes to kind of bridging this gap, academia is no longer just a distinct phase, but critical foundation in professional development. As learning evolves, we as designers must lead, bridging education and practice to foster innovation and shape the next generation of designers with future ready approach, with adaptability and critical thinking at the core. As design educators, we need to foster more of collaboration, and when I say collaboration, it's not only kind of joining different people, it's about openness to ideas, it's about openness to reinterpreting our role as design professionals. So the way forward, and which is like basically again our experimentation with the NEP 2020 and how we can bring those things into this. And especially when it comes to the design and detail topic that has been allotted to me, I feel site exploration, hands-on workshop, cross-disciplinary learning are very much important in developing the craft of detailing. Narrative-driven teaching, making-driven teaching, okay, shared, so these are, I think, important for me to understand about teaching design and details. And of course, when we look at the open data and its role in design, we all are aware about all these things and whatever is happening, and it is ever changing per se. So I'll just share some, I hope you're able to see some facts over here, but just to kind of give you an understanding about how we have been approaching. So in 2018 we started looking at the syllabus from a different perspective, and at that point in time we were not even aware about that this kind of NEP thing is going to come in 2020. And of course at that point in time 2020 we were all occupied with the pandemic, and so a lot of time was lost. But fortunately we started relooking at the subject as a part of one of our survey with the graduates from different time frames. So 15 years graduate, 5 years, 10 years, immediate ones. And we found that there were certain problems that were to be addressed, and we started kind of reformulating, and that's where our choice based learning started coming in, and which was again substantiated by the NEP also. So we started looking at that, and then finally when we became a university in 2021, and of course we had to also follow the NEP guidelines, then we started looking at how we can get into these different terminologies as a design subject. Now NEP 2020 is more of a larger blanket which has been thrown at us, right? And from that we have to kind of very carefully pick what is applicable to us, especially when we look at the design education. So like, one thing is about multidisciplinary, that you have to have that multidisciplinary approach. So how do we define that? Okay, and that's where the whole formulation of the university comes into picture, and then how we can take things from different departments. And when I'm saying different departments, I'm not only talking about design and arts, I'm talking about management, I'm talking about technology, I'm talking about performing arts, right? And also I think commerce. So these were also available to us, and that's why we introduced transdisciplinary open electives. So now these are electives which are like completely different. They have nothing to do with design per se. But suppose somebody is interested in permaculture, somebody is interested in understanding the Indian judicial system, somebody wants to do something with the management or business or entrepreneurship skills, or for that matter AI driven design, which is a very technical subject. Look, no? we are only using those tools, but there are people who are making those tools. So similarly, if somebody is interested in kind of marrying this whole two things, then how we can do that? So those kind of subjects are offered as a part of transdisciplinary open elective. Similarly, we started with a minor certification program. So I have taken, for example, bachelor's in interior design, but I want to also look into climate change. So there is a subject, or there is a topic that is available wherein I can take additional credits and get an additional certificate at the end of 4 years. But of course for that I'll have to do additional 12, 20 credits, whatever is the duration that is been specified. So there is no cap on what kind of subjects you can take. So minors, you can take anything. You can take law, you can take arts, you can take technology and those kind of things, and integrating that as a part of this was also very important. And parallelly minors programs and so there are two things: minors subject and minors certification program. So subject comes as a part of your bundle of things, as a part of your course, but certification programs comes as an additional thing. So you'll be given a final degree which will be called bachelor's in interior design with minors in sustainable development, or minors in climate change and sustainable development, right? So why not? Okay, and that's possible because ultimately what you are supposed to do is to learn certain things for certain amount of time and credits, and that you are doing. And for that you have to have a bare minimum qualification, whether it is 12th or whether it is being graduate. So if both these things can happen parallel, why not? And this is what even NEP suggests. So NEP is also allowing you to do 2 degrees at a time if the duration permits, or rather the college timing and everything, if you are able to do mandatory things. So how can you involve those things as a part of it? So similarly, a lot of things as a part of research and innovation, integration of vocational and academic things, promotion of Indian knowledge system, right, and all these things. So no, of course when we talk about IKS, there is one way of looking at things in terms of providing couple of subjects as a part of elective, or smaller subjects, or you integrate them as a part of your choice based learning into studio modules. So of course now we have large classes, like number of classes, like classes as in the number of students in a class. So you have 90 students, you have 80 students. So of course you can provide 6, 7, 8 teachers, but those 8 teachers addressing 80 doesn't make sense, but one teacher addressing 10 makes sense. And all the teachers also have their own expertise, their own inclination. So it becomes kind of a choice based things for Both of them, the students also. So if I am interested in sort of publicness of projects, and there are a bunch of students who are interested in that kind of subject, then we both come together. So we provide 4, 6, 8, whatever, based on the logistics and availability of faculties, that kind. And in that we also integrate the Indian knowledge system. So suppose somebody is wanting to get into craftsmanship, somebody wanting to understand some sort of Indian arts, okay, or any sort of Indian knowledge system, and if there are faculties available, the studio module can also adjust based on that. And similarly, of course, humanities becomes very important as a part of this, wherein you start kind of taking a lot of general understanding about the Indian knowledge system as a part of that. And of course, then comes the internationalization, how you kind of do these joint study programs, and with different kind of pedagogies and all. I'm not going much into detail, and I have written everything because this was as a part of the report that we also had to submit to the university, and that's why I thought that it would be a good thing, because this has already been implemented. It's not something which is planned. It's already been implemented, and we are constantly revising this. So since 21 to 24, so we are already completed 3 years into implementation of all these things, and of course there are some good things, there are some things that are not working, so we are constantly kind of evolving this whole thing. We recently had an international conference on multidisciplinary and multilingual international learning, that how we can make education inclusive and equitable. That's a very general topic, right? But then we had some representatives of groups that are not properly represented in the society. Like, what happens if a transgender wants to learn design as a higher education, if a blind person wants to do interior design? Are we equipped for that? Should we allow or should we not? Because if a blind person can become an IAS officer and kind of take decisions and sign important orders, why can't he or she or they become designers? Now, there was some eye-opening facts that came out of it that we have never looked at. We have always looked at them as they'll make some small candles, they'll get the basic education. Why not higher education? Right? Because we are not equipped. As teachers, we are not equipped. As technology, we are not equipped. Right? So just this example was shared, that suppose this blind IAS officer wants to sign. There is a I may be pronouncing it wrong. There is a device which is called Kibo or Ebo, I think Kibo, which would kind of be put like this on the paper, and the Kibo will read the entire paper to the person, and then the person signs. Right? So these are assistive technologies that are there. So we had people who were representing transgender community, who were kind of giving this ideas, representing disabled, physically challenged and orphans. So where they were getting into dignified jobs, we had people from biomedical engineering who were specifically designing these assistive technologies. So where are we as designers contributing to this? Was the eye-opening thing that we came out of this. So internationalization is not always about design. It's also about this general awareness that kind of comes in. So we recently completed this, and it kind of changed our perspective into looking at design as an education. And I think that was something which, when it comes to interdisciplinary thing, transdisciplinary thing, I think this is what is very, very important. Of course, we are going to be, by core, we are going to be designers, whether we are architects, interior designers, artists, or whatever. But at the same time, we are also equally a part of the society. So how are we making a difference to the general public is what we understood. Similarly, ICT enabled education, apprentice internship and placements are some of the things which more or less were addressed in our case as in the design education case, because otherwise NEP is also for science graduates, arts graduates, and everybody. For them, internship and all this hands-on training was very important because they were only giving classroom education. But this is something which we are at a good stage. Then comes this whole exit and lateral admission. So that was again a challenge. Like, suppose somebody is not financially capable or had some family issues and had to leave the course by after 2 years. So you get a degree, a small degree, which says that you have an undergraduate diploma in visual arts. Though you are doing interior design, but 2 years is what you get, an elementary degree. So at least when you go out, you have something in your hand, wherein you can say that, okay, I have done 2 years of the 4 years course, okay, which is like 50% of your education time, and you get, so at least you can work as apprentice, you can work at some place, or you can even rejoin from third year whenever you want to do. And that's where the whole academic bank of credit and portability of credits and portability of institutes and everything kind of comes in. So what we did was that we have also introduced this portability of courses, that after first year, if a BVA student thinks, which is visual arts student thinks, that I want to go to interior design, you can switch. If an interior design student thinks I want to go to BVA, can switch. If an architecture student thinks I want to go to interior design or visual arts, they can switch at second year, because there is this foundation program which is common for all three disciplines at that point in time. Only architect, like BVA and BID, cannot go to architecture only because the Council of Architecture is currently not allowing. Otherwise, from the education level, there is no problem, because everyone is coming after 12th, everyone is like, but because there are certain science stream and NATA and all those kind of bars, but I hope that in future this thing can also happen. And we have started giving that kind of a portability to the students also, because a lot of times they come under peer pressure, they are not aware about the courses, and suddenly they feel that, okay, no, this is not what I want to do, I want to become an artist, or an artist feels that, no, I'm more fit for an interior design education. So you allow that, and that kind of brings this whole entry and lateral admission thing, wherein the foundation course starts becoming important. So a lot of institute do foundation courses, but this is a step ahead. After foundation courses, you can even do portability into this whole thing. Ultimately, you have to teach 80, 50, so 100, 210 students. तो वो यहाँ बैठ रहे, यहाँ बैठ रहे, क्या फर्क पड़ रहा है, right? So it's ultimately you're not going to, and whenever there are going to be common classes, you use the auditorium, right? So that's how we start looking at. So rather than this whole classroom learning is not actually the classroom learning that we are talking about. Classroom learning is the mindset that we have to break, is what my understanding is. So then these were the things which were introduced as a part of the whole thing, and I'm not going into detail because this has already been talked about. So at the end of this first part, in nutshell, adapting and refining our pedagogical strategies is essential to equipping students with critical skills and knowledge required to navigate the dynamics of an ever-evolving field of interior design. This approach fosters a rigorous academic environment where both educators and students engage with innovative design practices, encouraging continuous professional growth and adaptation to industry advancements. And I think that is pretty much in nutshell. So let's go to some pictures now, no? So the boring part is over and the picture part starts, right? So this was what primarily I have been involved, especially since last 5-6 years, in kind of developing this enabling mechanism, in developing the pedagogies or kind of refining the pedagogies. And because yet Council of Architecture has not come up with the guidelines for how they are going to implement, we got this very interesting opportunity to test it on the interior design and the visual arts education. And because we are a part of a larger umbrella of the Sarvajanik University and the Institute of Design Planning and Technology, as a dean we got this chance to kind of do all this experimentation, and that's where a lot of learning kind of is coming in. And when I think whatever time the BARC, the architecture education, will come up with this, I think we would have a lot of lessons on our hand when it comes to the implementation of all these things. So coming to the design and detailing part, for us design of course is a craft, but detail is not an afterthought. So detail for us is an integral part of design process, not something to be addressed at a later stage. And these projects and instances that I am going to show are predominantly our explorations at Angan. So for us, design is something which is very much rooted, right? So that's where the first one of the first slides said rooted innovation, and that was, our kind of client pitch which we normally kind of gives, because we are also trying to make them align towards what we are capable of delivering, or how we feel comfortable in terms of delivering things, because it is very important to kind of align with that thought process, and to make the client aware also, and to be aware, to get aware about what even the client's expectations are. And that's where this whole soul of design kind of comes into picture. And integrating things, or the whole integration, is something more like a strategy of our design, so wherein we are very open to the idea of who can contribute the best to this, whether there are artists, craftsmen, other designers who can do things better than us in certain aspects. So why not? Why can't we bring them also on board? And over a period of time, this has somehow, so that's how we have developed a lot of plug-in offices also, like, whenever it comes to art, whenever it comes to furniture, whenever it comes to lighting. So there are a lot of plug-in offices also which are there, and of course there are technical um, consultants and all that are obviously going to be there. And of course the cohesiveness of the design is what is can be termed as a style, though we don't believe in the whole signature style kind of practice, because we are open to things. And when it comes to detail, it's about how you innovate, how the aesthetics of that kind of contributes to the design, and of course the functionality and flexibility of that comes into picture. So these are very simple things that we follow throughout these 20 years of practice. We have been kind of doing this over and over again for a lot of projects. So knowing when and understanding where is what we are looking at. So whether it is ideation, whether it is the narratives of the space, whether it is the client's persona, because that is something which we feel is very important. It's not that, they're coming to us, then so this is what we can design. So that's one kind of a menu that you have, but that's not what we do. We are designing for clients, and each and every client is an individual, and that's where the uniqueness and the originality kind of comes on. And of course practicality, functionality, tailored solutions, themes of art, furnishing, and spatial canvases kind of are there. So the first one was about the ideation part, wherein conceptualization, design thinking, evolution, architectural characterization kind of comes into picture. So the strength of the ideation is where the originality kind of lies, right? So there was this project that we were doing, and we were supposed to also come up with sort of a light design, and that's where the detail kind of comes in. That what are we bringing in? We are bringing in a courtyard. We are bringing in, light and water inside, and then that's how it kind of came to the bund idea, and how that kind of manifests itself into sort of a light, and which doesn't have to be necessarily from the top. It needs to lit the floor, and that's why it has to come down to floor, also kind of becomes an artifact. Okay, so that's how this whole thing kind of goes on. And these are again our personal explorations that we have done over a period of time, and this is where it kind of comes in. So whether it is, so we kind of collaborated with another architect who was very good with brass, and that's where we kind of explained our design idea. We had this sketches and all, and drawings and all, and why we want to do it, and then he kind of came up with the technical solutions, or even the fine tuning in the shapes and the form of this whole thing, and then how this can be made practical and all, and that's how this entire technical resolution takes place. Similarly, so these are some of the other photographs. Similarly, when it comes to making spaces, it's just beyond just surfaces. Now sadly, I had an experience wherein I employed an interior designer, and she was just a fresher, not even couple of months into the field, and within 2 days she comes to me that, sir, I don't want to continue. So what happened? So don't use paneling, you don't use Italian stone, and that's what I want to do, and that's why I don't want to kind of work here, because that's not the kind of uh, practice I want to do. And at that point in time, rather than being angry on her, I kind of understood that okay, we have parallel tracks and it's not going to merge, and that's fine. Like, it's good that she realized this. But at the same time, I realized that a lot of students or people think that material is interior design. So, using different materials is interior design. So, you do paneling, if you do, there's something that you do from ऊपर से कुछ कर रहे हो तो वो इंटीरियर डिज़ाइन है. And that's what I felt was worrisome. And immediately, in the college also, so that's the benefit that आज शाम को ये बात हुई, कल सुबह में जाके कॉलेज में इसको इम्प्लीमेंट करना है कि भाई ये बच्चों के साथ ये हो रहा है. तो दिस इज व्हाट दे आर लाइक, वी आर ऑल्सो रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर दिस बिकॉज एज टीचर्स हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं. So are we giving this message? So if not, then it is not being conveyed. If yes, we have to change. Right. So immediately next day we go and we discuss about this, and then we need to bring systemic changes as a part of this. Right. And that's where this whole thing comes. That it's just beyond surface making. Of course, it's going to be there, but then it has to come as a part of an integral part of your design process. Right. So this is one house that we did. It was in an old settlement area, like you have the Gaunthas or Gamtals, and of course they have now a lot of money because their farms have been sold and they have millions of rupees and they want to upgrade, but they want to stay there. So this was a house which was 30 feet by 90 feet in length, and but it had shared walls. So we had to bring a lot of light. Of course, the photographs are of the first floor level, because now because of parking issues, because of flood issues in Surat, it's not now an issue, but people are still under the trauma of the 2006 flood, so they don't want to construct their house on the ground. They always want to go on the first floor. So you are kind of detaching yourself from the ground. So we wanted to create that, okay, why are you not enjoying this whole thing? So we brought in light, we brought in plantation and everything as a part of the interior. So a lot of times, of course this is an architecture project to begin with, but I don't have much than these two surfaces to explore. It's all about the spaces that comes inside. So for us, this whole architecture and interior is not something which is a separate entity. It kind of goes hand in hand, or rather even at times even interior comes first, because that's where you start kind of envisaging spaces and then the architecture adapts to it. So this is what it is, and that's where the surfaces comes in. So we have this whole entire north wall, so we kind of grid the courtyard on the north side and have this entire surface done in white marble strips. Again, all of these marble strips are having some finer details to it, so that get the play of light and shadow throughout the day, and those kind of things. And then you kind of get into the individual things. That's where the client's persona comes in, very much into meditation, spirituality and those kind of things, and believes in a guru, so wanted a small temple kind of a thing. So we kind of integrate the temple, dining space, the court, the jhula, everything together, because all of these are going to be used at different times of the day. So there's a lot of overlap of thing that happens, and just by the detailing and differences of the flooring pattern, you kind of divide the spaces, or rather demarcate the spaces, and that's how this kind of becomes a very interesting area. And this is where the terminology of interior follows architecture, rather architecture follows interior comes in. This was a house, of course, a bungalow that we were commissioned to do in Vapi, which is an industrial town in South Gujarat. And the whole idea came from that we don't want openings outside because it's one of the most polluted cities. Okay, and there's a lot of dust and a lot of this coal outside, and we don't want that, and we want kind of enclosed house. And that's where the whole idea of how the internal spaces should be, so that they can even enjoy the natural elements. And that's how this whole internal or interior spaces were conceptualized first, and then how they can be shielded from the outside was decided. And that's where the screen kind of comes in, right? So this space was the first one to be kind of to be envisaged before even kind of getting into the architecture of the whole thing. So a lot of times even architecture follows interiors, wherein it kind of becomes inherent, integrated and cohesive. So this is what you kind of start getting internally, and the light, the indoor plantation, the connection to the nature and all these things, and of course the screen also becomes kind of a backdrop. And then the smaller details, which again, this is one another observations. In our office we work with a complete portfolio based system, so before even starting the design, the entire drawings have to be ready, and in real sense a portfolio, and an exhaustive one. And that's where a lot of students face a lot of challenges, because they are not used to this rigorous working of drawings, right? We are open with all sorts of media, like you want to do it on SketchUp, you want to do it on CAD, you want to do it in some other software, that's fine with us. We have to get into the detail of things, right? And it has to be beforehand. It cannot be like jao, you draw on the walls and the kind of things that happens. And of course that is not the right thing to do also, because then this kind of is followed by estimation costing, even for smaller projects, even for flat interiors, or even for, because we also have to have our things clear in terms of what cost it is going to incur, and all sort of things like that. But this problem I have faced, and the readiness of the fresh graduates or the students is not there in making this kind of rigorous drawings, though they are much advanced in terms of technological understanding, that is understanding of the softwares, but they are not towards this. And that's where I feel that a lot of time tools versus design kind of comes into picture. So SketchUp as a tool, if we have to discuss, kind of becomes subconsciously guiding your designs. So whatever library tools are available in SketchUp becomes your design, and that's where you lose your originality. So initially you start kind of using that, nothing against any softwares, right? But you start using that, and suddenly all your design starts looking the same, because there are a set of materials, there is a set of screens, there is a set of furniture which is there, and then it is easier to kind of copy paste those things. But we are not realizing that there are millions of people using the same software, and this is going to be the same process that most of them are going to do. So we'll have to develop our own libraries for that, our own libraries in terms of your office or your individual library, if you really want to do that. And that's where I feel that because of this, a lot of times we lose the originality. So again, these are some of the drawings. So again, where we feel that there has to be kind of some sort of continuity. So whether it is the architecture, whether it is the flooring pattern, whether it is the doors, the handles, there is this some element that kind of goes on repeating itself throughout, and that's where this whole narrative of spaces start kind of happening. We take light very seriously, and that is natural light. So a lot of our projects, mostly every project will have this feature, and we have recently started kind of using all these very simple traditional techniques of kind of having this horizontal pardas, wherein we can control the light, the intensity of the light, and that kind of also brings a lot of variety to the space. So again, what you draw and what you get, of course, is going to be, this slide is one of my favorite. I'll get to that in one of these slides later. So getting into the details of each and everything, and of course this again is going to be a little bit, how much time do I have? 20 more minutes. Yeah, okay, thank you. So this I would like to take some time over here, and then I can again rush a little bit, is where I feel the details and the design originates from. Okay, so normally we say that okay, we have a client centric practice. So what does a client centric practice mean? It's not that whatever client tells you, you do that. That's not being client centric. It's about understanding, okay, and then making them aware, and of course they are always going to give you their requirements, but that's not design, is what our understanding is. And that's where people and place kind of come into picture. And that's where, whether they are the preferences, they are characters, they are the portrayals, the identity, the values that they hold, the aspirations that they have, the lifestyle that they want to kind of upgrade to, the cultural influences that they come up with. And because I'm from Surat, and we have more than 80% of population as migratory population. So more than 80% of our clients are going to be people who are not actually belonging from Surat, and they have come from some or the other way, right? Whether they have come from Rajasthan, they have come from Saurashtra, they have come from a lot of different places of India, and that's how they are also carrying some cultural things with them, and which again has to come as a part of their design. And of course there are personal stories also which they would like to depict, and that's where knowing the client kind of gets into that. So I'll show this project, which is our own office, of course, because we know ourselves much better. And when we shifted here in 2022, after 20 years of starting our practice, we were very sure what sort of space we would want. So from the selection of the site to what sort of neighborhood we want, and what sort of approach do we have to take for the design of this whole thing, kind of comes from that, right? So it's not about attractive aesthetics, sophisticated furniture, or technical lighting. It's about the idea of moving into a village, about making people believe in the idea of recycling and upcycling, not only material but space and context. So that was our idea, that अपने को एक ऐसा कुछ बनाना है कि लोगों को लगे कि अच्छा ये भी possible है, ऐसा भी कर सकते हैं. And that is what we took up as a challenge, wherein it came to what sort of message as design professionals we can give to the community in general. So we actually COVID also kind of delayed this entire process of searching for this site and all, but almost around 3 to 4 years was the time that we went in searching of the right kind of place. And then finally we got this place, which was a kodhar. Kodhar is basically a barn, a cow shed, which is normally at the back of the house. Okay, but luckily it was the main road, so the houses were facing on the inside, and this barn was on the main road of the village, which is now engulfed by the entire city of Surat, just next to the river. And we were very influenced by the river, because our old office was on the bank of river for this almost 15 years. We were in the old office, and we had this river as something very close to us. So, but of course here we were not getting the direct view of the river, but we are getting this very nice lot of plot, which was an old barn. We wanted to recycle it. It was in a very bad shape, so the same building was not possible to be recycled. So what we did was, we put it down and we upcycle the entire materials that we got from it, and from our old office, and from wherever we could get, because we were moving from an old space to new place, which was almost 4 times the size. So the whole mindset was not only going into a new place, but also to kind of have a new way of thinking. So this was our old office, which was just around 1,000 square feet of carpet area, and now we were moving into almost 4 times the size of that. So the design started with how we can use the same furniture, and the space planning started with that. And that's how first we adjusted this, that where and what can be done, and what then remains is what we are going to design, right? So that's how this entire thing kind of comes in. So 95% of furniture, though it was fixed, there were tables, there were storage units, there were discussion desks, and everything kind of was brought into this space, and the space planning was done accordingly. So here also the space planning was not pre-decided. It was decided based on what sort of furnitures we are going to utilize. Nowhere the norms or compromise was done in terms of space planning and so on and so forth. Of course, a little bit of architecture of this place. These are bricks from one of the manufacturers from Ahmedabad who make bricks out of construction waste. So Kesarjan, so they kind of we were quite impressed by the way this whole construction waste can be kind of brought back into brick form and can be used. So we had used this, and that kind of became the surface for the canvas of this entire thing. We chose gray because we had to bring in a lot of colors and light and other things, so we wanted a muted thing, but at the same time the muted thing should not be dull, it has to have its own character, and that's how these patterns and all these things kind of emerge out of this gray brick thing. So lot of light again. So it basically we kind of had this lower floor which was predominantly the meeting areas, the cabins, and wherein the visitors come and we have discussions, and the upper area which is predominantly the studio space. So whether it is the small details of a counterweight used as a sorry okay the counterweight used as a door closer, or these kind of simple mechanisms of parda being used for controlling the light. So this entire office is predominantly, not 100%, made out of recycled materials, whether it is the old material that we got from the site, that is the wood, the other civil waste, the wood being used over here also as a part of these steps and all, is all from the same structure that we got from here. There were not enough of Mangalore tiles to be kind of put on the roof. They were just little, around 300, so we made a screen out of it. So that's how we kind of also upcycled it. So that's where and that kind of is the identity of our office. So as you enter into the reception area, you have this nice screen which is made out of Mangalore tiles. So you kind of detail it out. You had to cut it, and so we invested in good craftsmen, artisans, and laborers, rather than investing into material. Almost all the material that we have, even this brick, is the surkhi waste. So we were able to get this surkhi waste converted into again sort of brick tiles and use it as a floor. And so we had this wood, but it was not enough for the entire staircase, so you come up with these kind of intermediate things. So you have the lower portion into masonry and plaster, the intermediate thing into RCC, and then the rest of whatever is available you get it done. So unless and until I tell you, you will not realize that this is done out of just the value engineering for the material. All these ones are also out of waste. So Prathma is my partner's wife, and she's also an architect. She's also senior associate into this, but since last 7 years she has been she has moved into textile design and all, and she's mainly into curtains and all this designing and bespoke furnishing and all. And whatever waste she had with her was all utilized in making of all these lampshades, even the murals of river Tapi over here. Yeah, so this over here, even these lights and everything. कोई बात नहीं चलेगा. Of course we wanted to have this something symbolic of the construction and all the other things, so the tagara becomes the light, the one that is used for carrying materials by the masons. So basically that was what we did with our place, and it is a platinum rated building, though it was not designed by those rules, but it automatically gets that because the fundamentals are right in place. So it's a platinum certified interior. It has also won the IIA's Interior Design Award last year in 2022. So this was the office that got the IIA award for interiors, and so we never started with that. But we wanted that things have to be in place, and it automatically gets recognized at the deserving platforms. Another interesting thing is what we do in our practice is about the practicality and functionality. So nowhere we will give an answer that na design ma aaj ho ye aisa to chalta hai. No, it has to be resolved. It has to fit the budget. It has to, when it comes to affordability, it has to be that. It has to have the longevity. It has to be maintainable. User experience has to be good. So all these things, it's we are a little bit of OCD about this, tick boxing of all these things, and that's where a lot of times the details and intricacies also comes in. May it be with the furnitures that we do, whether we collaborate or we design on our own. We get into all the smaller details of this whole thing. So whether it is designing finer details, innovating technical resolution of these things, customization, collaboration. Okay, so when this China fever was going on in the late 2000s and the early 2010s, we thought that no, let's not do that. And let's try to bring in something more, and that's where we started kind of getting into bespoke furniture design. So whether it is alankaram or the design in dukan, and why I'm taking these names is not kind of in any other ways, but just that in their earlier stage, so we were able to collaborate as design minds, that okay, this is the need of the hour, but see, I have the idea, I have the wish and will, you have the skills, you have the technical know-how, so let's kind of get there together. Okay, and that's how, whether it is the large, now Alamkaram is a very very big brand, but when they were placed out of Delhi in 2000, we started in 2011-12 with them, when they were like just growing, and similarly with a lot of other firms also. So their understanding, their detailing intricacies also kind of becomes a part of our designs that we do. Similarly, getting into the object of art or functionality, whether they are the screens, whether they are the these bar trolley, though we are in a dry state, but people have permits. Okay, so or or other things that are there as a part of it, or maybe using them as more like sculptures, or this whole reception table at a law house that we have made, basically an advocate's office, is what is the center of this whole thing. It's a very small floor plate that we have 7 floors, but then the interconnection of all these things. So it was a very interesting exercise for us in terms of the space planning also as architecture and also as interior design, or kind of bringing in art inspired design as a part of the furniture detailing. So whether it is the head table, and kind of bringing in this whole detailing part of it. This again is a very interesting thing. I come from a sect wherein this seva is very important. So Thakurjini seva and all, and then a lot of these elderly ladies, they go to the temple and they do this full seva and all these things, and and normally they have these knee issues and all these things, but because it has to be seva, kasht to hona chahiye, was the whole idea. And we were like that, really, is there somewhere written that नीचे बैठ के ही करना है? So, नहीं, but अभी फूल का ये पूरा करना है, फूल सेवा करनी है, तो कैसे करेंगे? And that's why we came up with this whole idea that let's design this, let us design. So we're doing this temple for the community, and then we said that okay, let us also design this furniture piece, wherein why can't we give at least something wherein they can be without pain, and with a prasanna man they can do this seva. And that's why this detailing kind of comes in. So you have this central revolving disc, and then sit around. So they are singing bhajans and all those things. At the same time, they have different flowers that are put, and the general things that is going to be used, and then kind of this rotates and everybody gets the chance, and you have your work desk. So I wonder nobody thought about this so long. So this is basically a full table, full flower table. Basically, you making these small thing as a part of the seva. So this is located in the temple. So in one corner, so you can see the Nij Mandir over there in this particular corner, and then you have this over here, and they kind of do this. So how the disc and everything works, so a lot of mechanical thing kind of went into the whole but that's where now these all things are possible. There is no rocket science in this, but the whole idea of getting into the detail of the problem is what inspired us to do this table. Similarly, a lot of spaces that they require multifunctionality. So you want a desk, but if it is facing towards the wall, you feel sad to work, right? That you're facing the wall and you're working, but the space is not allowing that. So you do this a very simple thing. You put a small wheel and you can do that. And similar thing, a lot of time Vastu also comes in and then say that okay, in northeast corner mein puja hona chahiye. Then you have the entire living room, and then you have to carve out a corner wherein you say that okay, this is there, and this is नहीं वो तो बोला ही है इधर ही होना चाहिए. And that's how then maybe the screens and those things which can be opened up whenever required, or for that matter a similar one. So the other one we did in 2012, and this one we did recently. So then those ideas kind of grow over the whole thing. uh, there is this one phenomenon, I don't know in Ahmedabad whether it is there or not, but in Surat, to make the rooms look bigger, 50% of the room surface are windows, right? So you have this entire thing over here as a window, this as a window. So these two walls are full windows. Now just imagine this is a bedroom. How are you supposed to sleep, or even in the daytime? So that's where these fabrics and all they come into picture, because they give us this whole possibility to use them as again one surface which needs to be designed and detailed. There are functionalities to it, and of course you cannot have like everything opened up or closed down every time. So we designed a screen which you can kind of move wherever you don't want the direct thing. So there is this one layer of screen, then there is this another layer of screen, and similarly, and then it kind of gets designed. So this is the light I was talking about, which kind of also becomes an art piece. It also kind of ensures the connection, the aesthetics, the delicacy, everything. And this we started doing in 2000. I don't remember, but when there were clients who came to us that all said and done, आपको जो इंटीरियर करना है करो, हमको तो ट्यूबलाइट ही चाहिए. Right. So how do you take that? Okay, suddenly we feel we are robbed of the opportunity. So that's where we come with this whole thing. Let's design a holder for the tube light. What we don't like is the tube light, ना ऐसे लटका हुआ तो उसको अच्छा बनाते हैं. And that's how we kind of started designing the tube light holders. Okay, so ultimately the source of light is a tube light, but then you design those holders, and from that we started kind of getting into these things. So whether they are these kind of COBs or other kind of light, then it kind of became a part of our design exercise. That okay, let's explore that. Let's explore. And a lot of times at the end somebody tells me, मेरे को यहाँ light चाहिए, अब सब wiring हो चुका है. So then this helps. Okay, this helps to get the connection at the right place. This helps like wherever I want the light. Okay, it kind of adds a value to the entire interiors. You won't see a lot of ceiling that been done in all our projects. We don't believe in ceiling, false ceiling. Why there has to be something that is false, right? So that's how we approach. But of course, at times you have to do that because you have to conceal certain things. There are maybe changes, beams, or other things, or at times the requirements of AC or concealing. So, but normally they will only come as sort of a surface. But what adds details to the ceiling is these light fixtures, which are kind of custom designed, or even collaborate with some good lighting firms to kind of come up with specific pieces, accent pieces which are there. And of course it's not only about artificial light, but we believe a lot in the natural light thing. I've already explained, so I'm not going into detail. So themes of art: furnishing, spatial canvases, a lot of use of fabrics, a lot of use of surface in terms of how you kind of get in. We do a lot of work in exposed brick and exposed concrete, but we also bring in art by relief work, by adding certain things, metal to it, or maybe engraving and all, which is all a part of the larger idea of customization, of integration, of exploring the textures and the play of light and shadow. And similarly, how can these interactive spaces be? This is again an interesting house. We do a lot of houses, so and in that also we are blessed to do houses for brothers a lot. Okay, and अगर आपको आपका family का बंटवारा नहीं करना है तो हमारे यहाँ ये is a tagline we use. So we have done houses for brothers from 2 brothers to 7 brothers. Right now we are working on a 7 brothers ka house, and this is for 2 brothers, wherein we had a small plot and it had to be stacked one over the other. Okay, and so what we did was, this was the upper house, but everybody has to get that feel of living in a bungalow, have interactive spaces, and so on and so. And that's where the idea of this light and the textures and the surfaces comes from. So these are some, again, things which are an integral part. The right one I have already explained. The left one is of a corporate office that we are doing for a developer, and that's where a lot of times the urban designer in us also comes out and says that, okay, thoda interior mein hamara bhi kuch use karo. So there is this whole map of this thing done in a relief work, because that's where and their projects are then going to be highlighted. So it kind of becomes a mural. It kind of becomes the whole thing. Floors as canvases. We do a lot of we are Indian stone loving firm, and we seldom like to use foreign stones, but when we are compelled to do that, uh, I don't know whether I have a photograph of that or not, but but when we are compelled to do that, the rightmost one is a terrazzo in Italian stone. Okay, so what we did was, आपको खर्चा करना है तो करेंगे, लेकिन हम लोग हमारी तरह से करेंगे. So we वैसे ही इटालियन स्टोन टुकड़े में ही आता है, उसको केमिकल से ही जोड़ते हो, तो हमको नहीं जोड़ना है. तो you want Italian, we'll give you Italian, but we'll make a terrazzo out of the Italian. So that's office space that we did. The left one is house. This one again done in Kota, Tumble Kota. A recent one wherein we explored the Kota and the marble again, which used to happen, but in a little bit of design and detail. Textile again is a very, very important part of our designs. Is because of Prathma and Filigree, because she was the one used to take care of the interior projects, and then she developed this whole passion for doing textiles, and that's why what we said that, okay, अभी हमने एक designer तो खो दिया है, लेकिन वो designs तो हम लोग ले सकते हैं ना. So that's how this whole thing started, and a lot of work goes into making of these things, and they are not done in isolation. It's all from the conceptual level. So whether it has to be an applique work, an embroidery, a painting thing, or something else, it comes from the whole idea of what the house is going to be. So the whole persona thing, the other things, they come as a part of this. So again, a lot of an opportunity we get, because whenever you are doing flats, apartments, interiors and all, that's where you have 50% of the area as curtains, and so then that's where art also kind of comes in, and all these craftsmen, so they also become an integral part of it. So of course sourcing is also important, but at the same time, collaboration, recycling, being giving importance to the native thing. So whether they are done by some generation old craftsmen from Nathadwara for the pitchway, or the young architects, designer turned artist for the wall art, or for that matter the textile and the reinterpretation of Raza's painting, or different types of screens and wall arts, or again getting into the whole thing. So whether they are furniture, textiles, light, arts and crafts, I think everything kind of starts getting integrated, and design and detail is something which kind of is interwoven as a part of it. So coming to the end of the presentation, for us it is very, very important that knowing when and understanding where, the application of the right detail is deeply rooted in time and context. As designers, we must grasp the essence of detailing, recognizing not only when it is needed, but also where it belongs, and this matters the most. It is crucial to know when to emphasize these details at an appropriate time and place. How we guide users' experience is dictated by the finer details we incorporate. The foundation of effective design lies in the intricacies. At these details, the foundation of the effective design lies in the intricacies of these details, which often appears as the most prominent feature. So everybody knows that God lies in the details, but so does the devil, right? Thank you very much. This is an interesting photo. This was clicked by one of my student when I was kind of trying to motivate them that you have to work, and I was just giving this example that the dot is what you know you know. The smaller circle is what you know you don't know, right? What you know you don't know, and then there is this something which is you don't know you don't know. So at least we have to start from going from this dot to that circle. So thank you very much. Questions, please. दूसरे के लिए. And I would really want to have or rather you guys reflect on to whatever I have shared, is because uh, you know again this thing is very important as a part of our learning process also, both as a teacher and as a professional, and all this work that I have shown is what my firm is doing, and my role in the firm is now predominantly in trying to kind of do this direction rather than actually doing it. And for me it is very important to understand and know that whether we are or what are the responses on whatever we are doing. So that way also I'm open to your comments, and if you want to know something more about the education part that I talked about in the first part of the presentation, that's where also I would like to have interaction. Yes, please.
Hello, sir. It's a pleasure to see this presentation, honestly.
Thank you.
What I wanted to ask that being trained as an architect and having practiced for so many years, do you see any difference, or what is the particular difference that you feel in your work, like your professional work, which is coming from your background in academia? So you would have done differently if you were not a teacher or not an educator, but the way you practice, what is that relationship in your own understanding and practice? As a designer.
I think at the being involved in teaching and education acts as a compass. It is very much important in deciding the direction where we are going, and I think what we are practicing right now is purely an outcome of our involvement in teaching and education. Like, of course, I am the one who is more deeply involved, but apart from that, the other people of the firm, like my wife Neeti is there. She's mainly into landscape and all. She was also a teacher, a full-time teacher, and now a visiting faculty. Then Prathma, she specifically takes a lot of art-related and textile-related subjects, and another associate of us, she's into public projects and all, and she also kind of contributes. So for us, it is very important that whatever teaching is being done, are we doing things in the line of what we are preaching, rather, is what is very important, and that has influenced a lot in terms of deciding on things that we can do and we cannot do, right? So yes, it acts as a compass to kind of keep us rooted, and because the comments that I am giving to the students in the jury are also applicable to me, right? So that's where my internal process starts coming in, which if I would have not been aware of this thing, it would have gone anywhere. It would have been kind of pushed by the market forces or what my client wants, and where I'm getting money, where I'm getting appreciation. So those things would have kind of nudged me towards those things, like wherein I would have had nothing to kind of hold on to. So I feel this is what kind of keeps us in the right direction. And of course, acquiring talent. So I early bird gets the worm kind of a thing. So now we are almost a firm of 40 people, and we are growing, and now we have since we came to the new place, we were also like, we have opened up ourselves. It's not that there are going to be two partners. So in very short time, we are going to kind of make a more no, wider and more democratic way of running the firm rather than it kind of being done by only a single person or two people. Please. This means that it has not got through or it was not enough. Yeah. Yeah. We put a clause now after the design stage. If you bring changes, 50% fees additional. Yes. That's where the business thing comes in dealing.
So I
Yes,
have a
I think she wanted to ask, and after that, yeah, yes. So we have three or rather four very specific segments. One is the minors, which is kind of multidisciplinary, right? So which kind of brings in from allied fields, which is like, yes, suppose we are doing interiors, so related to art kind of can come in and those kind. So almost 20% of the load of those subjects comes from that. Then we have this skill based subjects, which kind of you're upskilling the students, or you are kind of making them hardwired with whatever. So whether it is softwares, whether it is this whole hands on making kind of thing and all, so they all come as a part of the skill based education programs. So that skill enhancement courses, SEC. So that kind of comes as a part of that. So even a lot of times the graphic kind of a subject you take into that, and then you kind of teach them from that perspective. So then we will not only be limited to just drawing, but you will also bring in how to make models, how to do hands on things. Even 3D printing kind of comes as a part of that, because ultimately your and software learning also comes as a part of that. And based on the year that they are, and slowly it kind of starts becoming more specialized. So suppose somebody is very good at hands, then the person takes those kind of subjects. Somebody is very good at software, then the person so we have to give them that flexibility in all these streams also. And then comes the transdisciplinary open electives, which is wherein every semester we have these two, and we have also introduced another group of things which is called the LSLS, liberal studies and life skills. So we also have a subject like अभी उसके लिए 16 घंटे का या whatever 32 घंटे का सब्जेक्ट नहीं करना है हमको, बट 8-8 घंटे के 4 छोटे टॉपिक्स तो कर सकते हैं ना. So we also have a bike repair module, a car and bike repair module. We have a permaculture module. We have an organic farming module. Okay, so abhi, yeah, so we have like lot of people around us who are हमको एक there is this one RJ who comes to teach how to speak, right? So अभी उसके लिए मेरे को पूरा सब्जेक्ट नहीं चाहिए. So it comes as a part of communication skills, और उसके अंदर हम लोग ये 8 घंटे का उसको करवा देंगे तो भी काफ़ी है. फिर उसमें से if somebody wants to take it further, can do that. So as an institution, अभी मुझे को ऐसा लगता है कि our responsibility is to give that platform. You cannot make them expert in each and everything, but you have to provide them with this opportunity so that they can identify. Because we are not sure, आज हम लोग उनको ये जो सॉफ्टवेयर सिखा रहे हैं वो 5 साल के बाद शायद ऑब्सोलीट हो जाएगा. तो उसको सीखना कैसे है वो सिखाना है, is what I feel, and that's where this and somehow this NEP gives us that. अभी क्या है कि आप यूनिवर्सिटी को बोल दोगे ना NEP में लिखा है तो they won't contest you. So it kind of helps us get what we want to do. And then so this transdisciplinary open elective is that, and then we have value added courses, and so value added courses को हम लोग LSLS में ले गए कि जहाँ पे even they are made aware about the Indian Constitution, कितनों को पता है, and then we say that बच्चे नहीं जानते तो हम लोग वो सिखाओ उनको. सो इंडियन कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का भी एक छोटा मॉड्यूल करवाते हैं, जस्टिस सिस्टम का भी. वो वापिस सिविक्स पढ़ना पड़ेगा तो पढ़ेगा, थोड़ा बहुत ही करना है ना. 4 घंटे का एक लेक्चर करने में क्या प्रॉब्लम है. देन देयर आर पीपल हु कम एंड जस्ट गिव दैट, एंड हो गया. and then professional electives, which wherein you have this कि भाई okay, you know, आपको उसमें आगे जाना है, furniture design में आगे जाना है, lighting में जाना है, तो then you have this professional elective. So that also helps them in selecting their modules in the studio, कि मेरे को lighting जाना है और यहाँ retail है, तो ये दोनों merge होंगे फिर. So वो flexibility is what helps. So NEP मेरे को लग रहा है कि हम लोगों को कैसे यूज करना है ना, वो that we have to decide. Yes, ma'am, you wanted to ask. Okay, thank you. Yes, please.
I'm really curious to know, like, how do you balance these two things? Being an academic person, yeah, thank you. So, being an academic person and a designer too, don't the clients complain, or like, how do you manage both at the same time? Because you have just 24 hours.
And we just need 12 out of that.
Yeah.
So, number one, I don't see there is this difference, but this is also like one project to me. Teaching is like one project, and profession is like, you know, 2-3 lectures. So if I start looking at that in terms of time frame, so it's there. So from the very beginning, and this is not something that you know, मैंने अभी अभी करना शुरू किया या ऐसा कुछ है. So in 2002 when I started teaching, since then this is my routine, like, you know, morning 7:30 or 8 is the college time. So from that to 1 o'clock I am in college, and post lunch I am in the office. And that's where the whole idea of building a team comes into picture. Like, you know, I'll look at it from the other perspective. In both the places, if you are doing full time, at least 50% तो ऐसी चीजें हैं ना जो आपको करनी पड़ती है जो आपको नहीं करनी है. Both the places, okay, in profession also and in teaching also. There are 50% of things which you don't like, but you have to do it because आप job कर रहे हो या ये आपका काम है. So I eliminated both those things. Okay, so 50% यहाँ पे जो है तो वो मैंने eliminate कर दिया. यहाँ पे I have people to take care of this, right? So I always had partners because I knew you know, people will need attention in the morning. ऐसा तो है नहीं कि morning पे कोई phone नहीं आना है. But slowly this was cultivated even in the clients also, the agencies also, and everyone also. So that is how I managed the time. So initially, even I work a lot with municipal corporation. So and my domain is that. My domain is public projects. So I do a lot of these public projects, and 75% of the time, I would not be you know, exaggerating, they will also not call me in the morning. They will request that, is it possible to meet because it is urgent. Okay, so that's how you automatically over a period of time build that rapport, and it only happens if you deliver. So ऐसा नहीं है कि अभी नहीं मिल रहा है तो फिर शाम को भी नहीं, फिर आपको मिलेगा. आपका you will not be put on ransom because I am not available, is the kind of systems that we develop over a period of time. Of course, a lot of support comes from the institution also, because I wanted to do it, and there were no hindrances created by the institution. They only looked at आपको इतना contribute करना है, आप कर रहे हो, फिर आप free हो. So, and that's where my additional involvement into all these things which are not a part of the job kind of comes in also, like, you know, working on the pedagogical things and, you know, kind of bringing in new ideas, you know, using my good offices to get the best for the students also. So that's how you kind of, you know, develop a give and take, the negotiation, the time, and all these things. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, please.
I think we can discuss few questions in break within, if you have any. We are running short of time, so.
A quick one?
Yeah.
Yes, the last one. Okay.
Okay. So, sir, I wanted to ask that how do you avoid being typecasted into a certain typology of projects? Because I saw that there are a lot of range of projects that the firm does, from urban to interiors to even textile and lighting design. So, how do you avoid that, you know, being typecasted into a certain typology of projects?
I think there are two very important points to this. One is the client itself, which kind of decides the type of project that we are going to come out with, the persona of the client, whether it is a public body or whether it is an individual. So if you pay attention to what their real issues are, their requirements are, their aspirations are, so automatically the solution that you provide as a design and detail are going to be very unique to that place. So automatically the repetition gets eliminated. And second version is to have people people not who work for you, but who are good at all these things. So textile, I hardly draw on a textile. I don't do that. It's Prathma who does that. Landscape Niti is who does that. Okay, or for that matter, when it comes to interiors and detailing, is my partner who is good at that. When it comes to public projects, when it comes to conceptualizing, I am good at, or for that matter dealing with people, and then kind of making them aware, or setting up the narrative. So that's my role, so I do that. So everyone kind of pitches in, and that's how, and that also kind of brings variety, because everybody is good at their own thing, right? So the right mix if you get, then I think so developing people and developing a team is, I think, very 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 crucial to not becoming typecasted. Thank you very much.